well, I noticed that I was making some tabs here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We've got about 10 to 11 people that were here yesterday as well. So what I'm going to do, also there are some new people. So I will try to, the presentation is similar to the presentation that I did yesterday, but I will try to put a new flavor. Of course, just a second, guys, I'll just set up here. I'll just try to put a new flavor in some of the content, so it doesn't become too repetitive to the ones that watched the presentation yesterday. And what I'm going to do as well, the same thing that I saw yesterday, and thank you very much for those ones that just a second. For those ones that responded the Survey Monkey yesterday survey, I had a look at the questions, and what I'm actually going to do, I'm just going to put a new link for those ones that didn't respond yesterday. I put in the comments there, guys, a link of 3 questions for the Survey Monkey. What I'm going to do on Thursday, I just look at my calendar. On Thursday, the 23rd of April, I'm going to compile all the questions that you guys are asking. And then during my live Instagram session, I'm going to repeat the question and I'm going to answer all of those questions, because a question that, let's say, Vinny put in there, it could be a question that Erica and Jill could also have. So I'm going to compile all the questions between yesterday and the next Thursday, 23rd. And then during the live session, I'm going to respond all those questions there. So for those ones that didn't respond the Survey Monkey, I put the link in the comments or the chat, and then you can access it's just 3 questions. The first question is, what sort of engineer are you? Civil, electrical, mechanical, production, whatever. The second question, actually there are 3 questions. The 3 main questions that you have about the validation process, so I can respond to those questions. And the last one is simple one, where are you? If you are here in Australia or in Brazil or Colombia, Peru, whatever. Yeah, it's all good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share the screen, and then I'm going to run the PowerPoint presentation. But as I said, I'll try to put a different flavor. So for the ones that were there yesterday, and obviously if you have other things to do, you're more than welcome to, but I'll try to put a different flavor and some new information. There's a lot of information that I can add, so I'll try to do that. So this is day 2 of the 11 days of engineering qualification validation workshop in Australia. And thank you very much, guys, for your participation and your interest. And today I'm going to be quickly talking about why did I create this site, www.engineersinaustralia.com, where I created to share valuable content and information, having done myself the process back in 2005 and 6. And I found myself in a lot of trouble to do the process because I didn't know how to write. I didn't know what to write. I couldn't understand really about the competencies. So I decided, and since 2011, pretty much until last year, I was doing a lot of interviews with Engineers Australia and engineers that wanting to become CPA or chartered professionals, and they were having a lot of problems. So I decided to put something together to help other engineers as well. In the beginning were Brazilian engineers, but then further down the track, I decided to do in English because there was a lot of other nationalities that were asking me to translate to English. And in the end, the result is for you guys to have a smoother road than mine. But who am I? I'm Gerson Nardo. I'm a civil engineer. I graduated in Brazil in 1994. Well, I'm revealing my age pretty much. 26 years ago, I've graduated, and I've done a few post-graduation courses back in Brazil and in other places like Japan and France. I don't speak French, guys. I was very lucky that my graduate certificate in project management, it was done in Portuguese. The professor was actually married to a Brazilian woman, and he managed to speak Portuguese. So that was actually an international module of my MBA. And then here in Australia, I did few interesting courses because I work with construction of infrastructure. It's really important that workplace health and safety, for example, is very important here. You need to understand, especially in the safety leadership, it's very important that we understand really the legislation and what we need to do to make sure that we provide a safe workplace. I got my qualification recognized back in 2006, and I started actually in 2005, but was so difficult and so confusing for myself that it took me nearly 8 months to get everything done. Once I had everything done, I submitted by paper. At that time was by paper, and in 2 weeks I got my letter with the positive outcome. And nowadays I work for the Department of Transport and Main Roads. I manage a construction company within the department with nearly 250 staff in construction and maintenance of infrastructure. Everything that you can think about a road infrastructure, from fence to fence, electrical, civil, guardrail, structures, tunnels, bridges, everything, I look after in the metropolitan region. The objective of this validation process, obviously, you want to have, as Carlo mentioned, this letter, that you have your ANZ SEO code for your migration process. And after you get that letter, which is the stage 1 of Engineers Australia, you would like also to get your stage 2, which is to become a chartered professional engineer in Australia, which means that you can pretty much work unsupervised. And I mentioned yesterday, and Carlo again mentioned today, how important it is to be registered as a professional engineer here in Queensland. Queensland, back in 2002, approved the Professional Engineers Act. It's probably a good idea for you guys to have a read as well. So if you Google Professional Engineers Act 2002, is the legislation that rules the professional engineering services here in Queensland. Victoria approved the professional engineering legislation back in November last year, and I believe that from July 2021, engineers in Victoria will also have to be registered. And New South Wales, they've got a bill in the Parliament, and perhaps this year they will approve that bill to become legislation, which means that you need to be a registered professional engineer to be able to work unsupervised. If you are not supervised, you could be incurring in criminal activity. So why I'm recognized engineering qualification in Australia, make the dream to come true in work as an engineer in Australia. You guys probably read in my website or saw one of my videos already. I used to work as a cleaner, kitchen hand, for those that live in Brisbane. the Suncorp building. I think, Erica, you're in Brisbane, you know the Suncorp building with the clock at the top?
Yes.
Yeah, so that building was mine. I was cleaning the toilets from
Oh,
level 7 to ground floor. So
okay.
yeah, 4 toilets per floor times 7, 28 toilets every day.
You still remember?
I still remember my very first day. I took half an hour to clean the first toilet, and the supervisor, she was mad with me because she said that I had 8 minutes each toilet.
Oh my God, yeah.
And well, she didn't tell me, but I said that the toilet was spotless. But she said, no, Jerson, yeah, you have just 8 minutes. So I almost got fired as a cleaner in my first day. But in the end, after 6 months, or probably early, after 3 or 4 months, I was already very good. I was cleaning in 4 minutes.
Oh my God, yeah,
Yeah, I was
well
really,
done.
yeah, I was doing really, really well. But and nothing wrong to work as a cleaner or work as a kitchen hand or waiter, or uh, I was removing bubble gum or chewing gum from carpets as well. But we studied as an engineer, and the dream was really to work as an engineer. So also, once you start work as an engineer, you are able to contribute to the engineering profession. There are other pictures that I put in here of the works that we do. We do bridge maintenance. This is the Captain Cook Bridge, which is one of the largest bridge in Brisbane. And we replace all the finger joints in there. So for the civil engineers, they will understand what a finger joint is. So electrical work, we do a lot of electrical work as well in terms of traffic signals and street lighting. Obviously, for personal and professional development, the opportunity to migrate to Australia, as Carlos said, there's probably one type of visa that you don't need the skills qualification. Obviously, if you have a partner visa, like Erica was mentioning, probably doesn't need to get the qualification to get the visa, but certainly you will need the qualification validated to get a good job in a reputable company. Some companies, they don't ask, but I believe that we all, when we graduated, the day of the graduation, we raised our right hand and we made some pleas. I don't know how it's in Spanish, guys, but in Portuguese we say juramento. How is it in Spanish? But we promise that we're going to respect and we're going to fulfill the duties of an engineer. So being recognized in the country that you are going to work, I believe it shows your ethics as well. Obviously, beginning of a family transformation, and now I've got a daughter, and she's 12, and I would like to offer some good conditions to grow my daughter and to look after my family as well. So in this workshop, 11 days of engineering qualification, we're going to look at a lot of things. And in this particular seminar, the pathways to qualification validation, the CDR steps, the CPD, continuing professional development, the career episodes, summary statement, and going to talk about the 11 days of engineering qualification and some answers, question and answers that you may or may not have. And this is some of my social media. So if you could like my Facebook page, if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me in the Instagram, it helps my channel to grow. Some people think that, oh yeah, you will make money in YouTube channel, but it's probably just a myth. They were saying that for you to earn 10 cents in YouTube, you got to have like 1 million views. Yeah, so it's a lot of views to make very little money. So certainly my videos are not the most appealing. I'm not going to get 1 million views of my videos. So my videos, I've got, I did a count yesterday. I think I got, now it's not 62 videos, but I've got, I think, 77 about 77 videos, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yes, since last year. So it's a good effort. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In some videos, well, the first video that I recorded, it's got 960 views. But majority they've got 10, 15, 20. So there's not a lot of views, but I'm pretty sure that whoever is viewing is at least getting some content. So I'll keep recording and publishing my videos there. So if you go there, yeah, hit like. So it's a motivation for me to keep going as well. And important to follow me on Instagram, because then during these live sessions and this coming Sunday, we have a live session with Renata. She's a Nati translator, and she's going to be, I'm going to ask her the top 7 questions about translation when engineers, they submit documents to her. So if you follow me on Instagram, you will be notified when we will be live in there. So the pathways to qualification validation, I think that today we've got Brazilians, we've got Colombians, and we've got a Peruvian. So interesting that, well, Carlos, you're Peruvian. So when did you graduate?
I finished my bachelor on 2001.
All right, okay.
Then I did a master in civil engineering in design and structure.
Yep.
In 2003 and 4.
Okay.
And then I moved here in 2016 and I did a master in QT as well. Project management.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just asking that question, Carlos, because Peru is now signatory, is a full signatory to the Washington Accord, and they became full signatory last year. So, which for you doesn't really change much, because as you graduated back in 2001, you don't really qualify for the Washington Accord. To be qualified for those accords, you gotta have graduated on the year or after the country signed the accord. So for those ones, if you had graduated last year, you would be
straight away.
Yeah, qualified under the Washington Accord, and then you could just fill the form, and that's easy then.
I didn't know that one.
Yes, yeah. Unfortunately, because you graduated in 2001, you still gotta go under the CDR pathway.
And CDR pathway,
yeah, and which is the pathway for, let's say, 99% of the Brazilian and Colombians as well. Yeah, and obviously, if you did a qualification that an Australian qualification accredited by Engineers Australia, then it's pretty much straight away as well. So yeah, the workshop and my online mentoring program is certainly focused on the CDR pathway. Under the CDR pathway, you have 2 categories pretty much. One for migration purposes, which is a migration skills assessment. And then there is the stage 1 for membership, which are the ones that already have a permanent visa, or they are not after a migration process. So Erica, when you get your visa, because you're probably not going to apply under a skilled migration, you can probably do under the stage 1 of membership. I don't know if you saw already in the Engineers Australia. I can send you later on the link of the booklet of that particular process, which is pretty much the same. You still got to write the career episodes. You still got to the 16 competencies are the same.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So the CDR stages, there are 6 steps for your competency demonstration report. The first one is fairly straightforward: personal information, your photo, your identification, which is your ID, passport or ID document, change of name, if that's the case, and your CV resume. A question that was asked yesterday is about the CV. Since when you need to include your experience in your CV? In Engineers Australia, they require you to put in your CV since you graduated. So let's say Carlos graduated back in 2001. So his CV needs to have his experience since 2001 until now. And if he had a break, let's say that in 2010 until 2011, he had a break, he wanted to have a gap year or went to travel around the world, he needs to indicate in the CV that between 2010 and 11, he had a break and he was traveling around the world. Or you were studying here in Australia between 2017 and 19. So if you have gaps in your CV and you submit that CV, Engineers Australia will most likely ask you to amend your CV as well.
Okay, thank you.
And obviously, English test, as Carlos said earlier, 6 is the minimum in each band in IELTS. There's also PTE and TOEFL that you gotta have equivalent scoring. But if you're doing IELTS, 6 is the minimum in each band: reading, speaking, listening, and writing. So if you in one band get a score less than 6, you can try to do it again, and then if you get 6 in the band that you didn't get in the first one, but then you get less than 6 in a band that you got 6, you can actually combine 2 English tests as long as they are within the 2-year period, and as long as they are the same test. So if you're presenting 2 tests, they're gonna be 2 IELTS or 2 TOEFLs or 2 PTEs. So in the Engineers Australia website, there is a frequently asked question, and they say that they may accept 2 tests. So you don't need to then to do a 3rd test. You can submit 2 tests. Then you apply for professional engineer or engineering technologist or engineering associate. So you gotta choose which category you want to apply. Interesting in this particular process that you've got to really observe, and I'm emphasized yesterday, and I'm going to emphasize today again. You've got to read very carefully the definition of your occupation according to ANZ SCO, because if you cannot demonstrate experiences that match with the definition of the ANZ SCO occupation, you will have big chances of Engineers Australia not to approve your experiences. As a professional engineer, for example, they might offer you to validate you as a technologist or an engineering associate. So you gotta really be careful and consider that your experience back in your country does match with the experience that they expect that a professional engineer is going to have here in Australia. And especially because some engineers back in your own countries, they perform duties that here in Australia may not be considered as a professional engineer. So in your country, it could be a job for a professional engineer, but here in Australia may not be. Civil engineers, for example, in Brazil, you can design and you can even look after installation of electrical installations. You can design switchboards up to, I think, 400 kVAs, I think. More than that, then you've got to have an electrical engineer. I think that's correct, isn't it, Erica?
Yes.
Yes. But here in Australia, civil engineers, they cannot do electrical work. They cannot design switchboards and electrical installations, even if it is low voltage, etc. So it's a job for electrical engineers. So if you are a civil engineer and then for some whatever reason you worked in an electrical company and just did electrical installations up to low voltage, and then when you try to come here and if you want to use that experience as your professional engineering experience as a civil engineer, it's most likely that Engineers Australia is not going to approve your experience. So you've got to really make sure, and I'm emphasizing again, that you read very carefully the definition of the ANZ SCO of your particular occupation.
Okay, but can I also always change later? For example, if they say, oh, you're not professional engineer, you are like more characterized engineer and technologist, for example?
Yeah, usually what they do,
later on, maybe
yeah,
you can apply again.
they can, yeah. When they give you that feedback, and I got some engineers that came back to me with the feedback saying, oh, Jason, yeah, I applied, and then they asking me either to rewrite the career episodes because the experience that they wrote were not professional engineer experience. They offered me that they could validate as a technologist, for example. So I said to this particular person, I said, well, you've got to consider your immigration objectives. So better to talk to your migration agent. If being recognized as an engineering technologist work for your migration objective, well, then, because my opinion, guys, is that you got to first probably try to work in whatever way to get your permanent visa. So once you get your permanent visa, you're safe, because then after 4 years, or even if you are here already for many years, I think you just need 12 months as a permanent, and then you can apply for your citizenship. If you're going to get your permanent visa as a professional engineer or a technologist or a technician, doesn't matter. It's important to get your permanent visa if that is your objective. If your objective is to be recognized as a professional engineer, then you got to try to rewrite, etc., etc. Because sometimes the company wants you to be a professional engineer because then they will later on sponsor you as a professional engineer. They may not sponsor you as a technologist or a technician. So, but if your objective is to get a permanent visa, and if technologists suit you, well, then go for it. Once you get your permanent visa, then you can try to rewrite your career episodes and get recognized as a professional engineer. So you gotta try to understand what is your highest objective. Is to get the visa or get recognized as a professional engineer because of the work that you're doing or for some whatever reason. But if you are recognized as a technologist, Erica, later on you can apply again. You can't use the same application. You've got to reapply. You've got to pay the fees and everything again. You probably need to rewrite your career episodes because the level of competencies as a technologist is one, and the level of professional engineer is different.
And what did the engineering associate means?
Engineering associate usually is the technician, equivalent to technician.
So and technologist?
Technologist is in Portuguese it would say that it's the tecnólogo.
Technical technologo.
Yes. And yeah, technologist is the technologo, and engineering associate usually is the technician. So even when you go to the booklet, and you gotta have this booklet pretty much like me, always on hand.
Yes.
The associate, you see that those categories that Carlo was saying about the draftsperson and the technician, yes. They fall within the engineering associate.
Okay. So have a look in this.
Yeah. So the engineering associate for us, let's say Brazilians, is the equivalent to, let's say that you did a Senai or you did CEFETCH, yeah, the Federal Center of Technology, yeah. So that's the engineering associate.
Oh, okay.
And then the education, obviously, that's easy. Just a copy and the translation of your academic certificates, your transcripts. A very common question here that people ask if they need to translate what they call, in Portuguese we call ementa, but in English would be the subject description, which usually is about 80 to 100 pages. Because if you think that 4 or 5 years of university degree, you will have a lot of disciplines, and then each discipline will have the description of that. It will add up to 80, 100 pages. So the transcripts, they don't need to be the translation of all of those pages. They're just interested in that document, which is like a table, which got the subject title, the number of hours or credits, and then what was your grade, and if you passed or failed. So that's pretty much the academic transcripts. And then
I get that in the university?
Yes.
Or by the website is okay, or I have to ask to the university?
That's a good question. Depends how the university, nowadays everything is probably PDF. So usually this document is also signed. So they could have a digital signature. Because I'm old school, here in Australia they call wet signature or digital signature. Wet signature is when you actually, with a pen, physically you sign the document. You can scan the document, but you have the original is wet signature or digital signature. So a few things evolved since I did my process in terms of the documentation. But if the university provides you a PDF, if you ask for the transcripts and they send you by email, well, that is digital. And also because nowadays you upload the documents. So everything that you're going to send to Engineers Australia is going to be digital, is going to be PDF. So if it is digital, it's going to be digital anyway, because you're going to PDF the document. So, and if Engineers has any issues, they'll certainly let you know. Skilled employment is the evidence of employment. It is necessary if you are using work experience in your career episodes or for the relevant skilled employment assessment that Carlo mentioned, or if you have more than 12 months in engineering employment. If you put in your CV that you have more than 12 months of engineering employment, you've got to have a letter of reference. And then you got to prepare your reports. So CPD is the first one. It's probably the easiest to report of the three. Continuing professional development, which are the events after your graduation. So, and then you got to prepare your career episodes, 3 career episodes. I'm going to talk a little bit more details later on. And your summary statement, which is looks simple when you download the template from Engineers Australia, but in my opinion is one of the most difficult documents to put together, because you've got to match the 16 competencies to your experiences within the career episodes. And then once you have everything, nowadays you upload to my portal in Engineers Australia website. Gotta be careful with how you upload the copies. In my video number 2, I think, I give a lot of good details and some tips that are not in the booklet that you need to do your uploading. So the CPD is the first report. Continuing professional development is just one page. There's a limit of one page maximum, A4 format, just with a title, date, duration, and venue. And they can be post-graduation courses. They can be conferences as a presenter or participant, workshop courses, seminars, discussion groups, technical visits, site visits, preparation and presentation of course material. If you were working in a company and then you attended a meeting and then you prepared some material, let's say at work, for example, we prepared a material about the advantage of using LED instead of mercury street lighting, for example. So all the technical advantages, the specifications, etc. If you did that and put in a PowerPoint and presented to fellow engineers, that time that you spent preparing the PowerPoint and presenting in a meeting can be used as your CPD. So this is one practical example in my video number 2, I think. You will be, or number 3 rather, I'll be giving 6 practical examples of the CPD as well. And then services to the engineering profession and private study, which includes books, journals, manuals. I don't know when if you get that, but for example, that's the magazine. Oh, I haven't opened this one yet. So that's a magazine that Engineers Australia sent to members. So they're talking of these ones about the 10 Australians emerging. So when I read those magazines, the time that I read that magazine can be as part of my private study. And I think in video number 2, there are some questions about CPD that I talk in video number 2. And then the career episode is an account of your engineering education and work experience. And each career episode focuses upon a specific period or distinct aspects of your engineering activity. So you've got to write 3 career episodes. Each career episodes should be between 1,000 words until 2,500 words. You have 4 sections in each career episode. One is your introduction, and then the second section is your background, when you talk about your company and talk about the project. And then the third section is your personal engineering activity, which is the main body of your career episodes. And then the last bit is the summary of your career episode. So you've got to write in my video number 3, I talk about the structure, how many words, how you should write, how you can start each part, how you number those career episodes, and what sort of language you use in those career episodes as well. You may base your career episodes upon an engineering task undertaken as part of your educational program. So Engineers Australia does not require work experience. You can base your 3 career episodes entirely using your academic experience, if that is the experience that you can match with the definition of ANZ SEO occupation definition. Or if you have worked in activities that can match with the ANZ SEO definition, then you can use work experience as part of your career episodes as well. You also can use a specific position that you occupied or currently occupy. I myself, for example, when I did mine, one of my career episodes was when I was occupying a particular position in one company. So I used a few different, I think it was 2 or 3 projects that I worked while I was in that position in that company. Especially because when I did my career episodes was back in 2005, I had already 10 years of graduation. So I had a lot of experience. So I had the luxury to choose few experiences and a particular engineering problem that you were required to solve. This slide is very important. Yesterday I emphasized a lot, and I will emphasize again, because I don't want to see you guys sending me messages because Engineers Australia caught you by plagiarism. And some people, they think that they can get away with murder and they're not going to be caught. But I can assure you that Engineers Australia, if they didn't catch you, you got a really, really good criminal professional assistance, because it's actually, well, it's not a crime, but it breaches the code of ethics. And you're starting already with the wrong foot here in Australia. Obviously, it's very appealing. A lot of people, they are very desperate. They close to the threshold of age, or they need to apply, the visa is expiring, they need to do really quickly. And by desperation, they ended up engaging some companies that they actually do everything for you. And it's very clear that the whole CDR needs to be done by you. For example, my mentoring program, I don't do anything. I teach people how to do it. So they can be confident in how to prepare everything without having to appeal to people to write for them. Because when other people, they write for you, you don't know if they're copying and pasting from other places. And I had already at least 4 engineers that came to me that they've been banned for 12 months in applying for a new application. So you get already a bad name with Engineers Australia. So the process is simple. It's a step-by-step. I said simple, I didn't say easy. It's simple, a bit difficult because you gotta write a lot. And as engineers, at least myself, I'm not very good at writing. So
Yeah, me too.
yeah, so that's probably common for the engineers. We like other stuff. We like graphs, we got like calculations and etc. But writing essays and writing reports probably is not our strength. And some people struggle. So some people get desperate and they ended up doing things that later on they could be regretting. And then the summary statement. As I said, this is a document that is really, really looks simple. It looks like a sheep. It looks like a wolf in a skin of sheep, because when you look at the document, it looks very simple. It's just a table with 16 competencies and then another 2 columns. Looks simple, but it's really, really difficult to complete that document. My students in my online mentoring, I advise them to write 3 competencies each time that they write, because it's so draining mentally that if you try to do it just in one sitting, the first ones will be good, and then the other ones will be just crap, because you mentally will be drained. It's really, really mentally demanding. And for each competency, you need to number the paragraphs in each career episode. And then you got to list the reasons why you believe you have demonstrated that competency. And the template, the only template that I suggest and advise you to download is the summary statement template from Engineers Australia website. That's the only template. If people, they offer you other templates, don't accept, because a template, now that I started with these videos, and when I make my posts, I grab pictures here and there, etc. They all come with a DNA. They all come with a digital address, and that stays with the picture. It stays with the text forever. So if somebody copies and pastes something from the internet, you can do whatever you want to do. There will be always an address. And those softwares, plagiarism softwares, they will pick that up. And you just need to do one summary statement for the 3 career episodes. So you don't need to write 3 summary statements. You can combine the experiences of the 3 career episodes to fill all the summary statement. And that's just a snapshot of half of the summary statement from the booklet. So they have 3 areas: the knowledge and skill base, engineering application ability, and there is a 3rd area there. So 16 competencies in total. And for each competency, you need to write why do you believe you have achieved that competency. And then in this column, you need to number the paragraphs of your career episodes where you believe it's the evidence of that particular competency. So for example, it doesn't appear here, but P 2.3 is about design. So let's say that Erica, she's an electrical engineer and she designed a switchboard. So to design a switchboard, she had to list all the equipment and the wattage, etc., etc., etc. Do a lot of calculations, use formulas, and etc., etc., etc. Determine materials and switches and everything, etc. So when she's writing those things in her career episode, there will be parts of the career episode which is linked to that particular activity. And then she will grab that number and then she'll put next to the 2.3 in there. And then she can say in 2.3 why she believes that she's achieved that competency. She can say that in career episode number 2, I have designed a switchboard, and then she can describe a little bit of that switchboard, but doesn't need to be a lot. It's just a short description. And she can say other things, that she designed the thing. She can say that she considered safety in design when she was designing the switchboard. She can say that she asked for another electrical engineer to review that design as part of a peer review, which is also how you can demonstrate that competency as well. So there's a lot of writing here, guys. My summary statement had about, I think, 5 or 6 pages. So there's a lot of writing that you gotta do as well. So although the template is just 1 page, and the booklet even says, don't be hung up to the 1 page. You can have multiple pages for the summary statement. And so the summary statement certainly is the last report that you do. And once you finish that, obviously you finish your CPD, you finish your career episodes, you get your English test, you got all the documents translated. This Sunday when we talk with Renata about the translation, a common mistake that I see, and I'll probably talk in my video number 2, is that some of the terminologies, some of the translators, and usually when you translate in your own country, for example, in Brazil, the English that we use is majority American English, and the American terminology somehow is different from the Australian English, which is based on the UK English. So if you're going to spend money, and if you translate documents back in your country, is probably expensive as well, might as well translate with a native translator here in Australia and ask for references. How many engineering documents have they translated? Because some of the terminology really is a bit confusing, and that's why I usually refer to Renata, because she's done a lot of engineering translation, engineering documents translation. And I don't get any commission, guys. You can negotiate the price with her. I don't get any commission if you do business with her. I just want you guys not to be frustrated when you submit your documents and then Engineers Australia ask you to do another translation or rewrite something, because one, you're going to spend more money to ask somebody to translate again, and you'll be frustrated as well. So this workshop that we're doing today is day number 2. That's pretty much in the videos that you will watch. The first video, well, today is Thursday. The first video will be released Saturday. So 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, we'll be sending an email with the link for you to watch my first video. So please pay attention. Yeah, I think it's 9 a.m. So about 9 a.m. you get an email. If you, by 10 a.m. Brisbane time, if you didn't get an email, it's because it's probably went to your junk mailbox. So if you didn't get the email by 10 a.m., check your junk mailbox. It's probably sitting there. If it's sitting there, it's a good idea to save my email address as favorites, so the other emails don't go to the junk mailbox. Are you guys getting my emails? Today I sent one email, was 3 p.m. about this webinar. Are you guys getting my emails?
Yes.
Yes? Yeah,
Yes.
that's good. What about others? Yeah, good.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. Because the opening rate of my emails is between 15 to 25%. So I'm just gathering, if people are subscribing to my website to get information, I believe that if they see my email, they'll at least open. But if they're not opening, it's because probably they're not even seeing that my emails were sent. So that's why it's really, really important.
Yeah, as you said, if the email it's the domain, it's Hotmail, and go straight for the junk.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Hotmail, and I believe that when you guys subscribe to my list, it opened a page with a video that I recorded. In that video, I actually say that if your email is a Hotmail, there's a button to have a second email, because Hotmail, it goes straight to junk mail. I don't know what happens, but hotmail.com, it goes straight to the junk mail. So I don't know what happens. And sometimes I get messages from people, Jess, I didn't get any emails. I subscribed to your website, but I never got any email. Well, it's probably going to junk mail. And then I'm going to talk about in more details about the CPD. I'm going to give 6 practical examples. I'm going to talk about the structure of the career episodes and how to better choose the experiences. If you are or you were self-employed, some people, they were working as autonomous or self-employed in your home country, and what do they need to do to demonstrate, especially the reference letter. And then the risks of plagiarism and what is a summary statement. And the revision process. Obviously, we don't want to go that path because it takes time, takes money, and obviously it's stressful as well. Well, Carlos is asking here, do we have to match those 16 competencies in each episode, or how does it work? Yeah, good question, Carlos. That's a very common question. You don't need to match 16 competencies in every single career episode. You just need to have one summary statement, and you can combine the 3 career episodes to fulfill the 16 competencies. However, for example, in my mentoring program, I help my students to have all 16 competencies in every single career episodes, because the assessment is done by a person. The assessor is an Engineers Australia assessor, is a person, and his or her interpretation can be different from my interpretation, can be different from your interpretation, can be different from Vinny's interpretation. So not to run the risk of not being accepted because you're lacking of competencies, I strongly encourage you guys, when you're writing your career episodes, try to match all 16 competencies in every single career episode. All right, and I believe that you guys already registered to the workshop. That's why you're here. But if you got the link from a Facebook post or Instagram post and you're not registered to the workshop, this is the QR code. You can take a picture and then you can register. By registering to the workshop, you will get the videos straight to your email. I'm sending emails every day between now and the 25th of April, just to remind you guys about the events. Tomorrow again at 3 p.m. you will get another email. I'll have another webinar like this together with Homeworld International Education, which is a Colombian agency. And you also get the 3 live sessions in Instagram. And as I said yesterday, and I'll repeat today, in those live Instagram sessions, I will give away 15 minutes of free consulting services, which if I was to charge, an hour would be about $300 to $400. So 15 minutes would be about $75. I'm giving away, depending on the time, I can do 1 or 2 people. So if you have a particular case that you want to discuss with me live, the only thing is that you got to discuss live with me. So the other people watching the live will also know. But that's good because your question could be a similar question to somebody else. So, and then on the 25th of April, I'm going to have a live webinar like this to review the whole process. And I'm going to discuss the way forward towards your qualification validation. And I'm also going to announce if I'm going to open a new mentoring group or not. I don't usually, the mentoring is not an ongoing thing. Depends on the interest, level of interest. I open a new mentoring group because for now it's still live sessions. The mentoring classes are still live. So I need to put aside about 15 hours of live classes and also some hours to give the mentoring to the participants. So I got to negotiate some time with my wife. So if I have enough interested people, I may open. If I don't have it, I'll see when's going to be the next workshop, and then I may open a new group. So the workshop calendar, yesterday we had this webinar with Egali, today with Carlo from Bloom, and it was really interesting session with him. Tomorrow with Homeworld International Education. And then on Sunday, I'm going at 9 a.m. I'm going to send the first video of the workshop. And then on Sunday, 5 p.m., it will be the live session with Renata, which is the translator. So 5 p.m. Brisbane time. So 3 p.m. you will get an email reminding you about the live session. And then Monday, I'll release the second video. Tuesday, I'll have another live session with Juan Cross from Cross Migration. He's also a registered migration agent. He's going to be talking about skills migration. And then Wednesday, I'm going to release the third and last video. And Thursday, live Instagram with no partners. So that's when probably I'll have time to choose more than 1 participant and give away 2 consulting services for free. And then Friday, I'm going to publish a validation blog article on my website. And on Thursday also, I'm going to be talking about the questions and answers that people they put in the SurveyMonkey as well. And I'm going to also celebrate 1 year of my website on Thursday. So very happy that I managed to keep going for 1 year. As Erica said, wow, yeah, 77 videos.
Well done.
Yeah, live sessions in my Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I think I did this Sunday, I think was session number 38. So 38 weeks, doing every week a live session talking about something related to engineering, qualification validation, or engineering subject. And then Saturday, the live webinar at 10 a.m. We're going to review the whole process and be going to talk about my mentoring program if I'm opening a new group. And if you have any question, for example, Saturday when you watch the video, if you have any question or if you have any comment, even if you like the video, there will be a section of comments underneath the video. Put your comments there. I get really excited when somebody put a comment there so I can reply and I can see that people are watching the videos and are participating. It motivates me to keep going. Sometimes I do my Facebook and Instagram and YouTube videos. I got nobody there or 1 or 2 people, doesn't matter. I'll do my content because I know that people will watch later. They may not be watching live, but they could be also watching the replay. So if you have any question on my website, there is a talk to us where you can send a question. Or if you have any suggestion for future videos or even something that you would like me to talk about during this workshop, send me a message, send me an email, or put in the comments. Oh, Gerson, yeah, can you talk about this? Can you talk about that? And because I do this every week, sometimes I run out of ideas. What should I talk tonight? Oh, yeah, sometimes I repeat few things because people keep asking me, so I repeat some of the content. But if you have really something that interests you, if I don't know, I will be researching and then I can talk about it. And Telegram group, most of you probably already in my Telegram group. What's Telegram, Jason? Well, Telegram is like WhatsApp. It's an application that I can send messages, I can send videos and audios, I can send links, and Telegram distributes the content to everybody in the group. Different from WhatsApp. WhatsApp may not distribute to everybody. So I created a group in WhatsApp, 256 members was the maximum. When I was sending some messages, even my wife, she was part of the group, she was not getting my messages because she was probably not opening my messages. So WhatsApp understood that she didn't want to see it. But Telegram, if I send something, it goes to everybody. And then it's your decision to open or not the message. So that's the link or the QR code to join my Telegram group. I think I've got now 405 or 6 people in the group. The groups can have up to 200,000 people. So, which is good. When I have 200,000, wow, it will be really good. And if you haven't downloaded my ebook, I wrote an ebook, 10 challenges that majority of overseas engineers they face when they arrive in Australia. It's free, you don't need to pay anything. It's got the English version and the Portuguese version. So I talk about the challenges that I faced when I arrived here, and it could help you, could help maybe engineers that you know that are in your country that they're thinking about migrating to Australia. It's not long, it's 35 pages, and it's got a lot of pictures and the font are big, so it's really easy to read. And I think that's pretty much it for tonight, guys. I really would like to thank you guys. It's what time is now? It's well, 2 hours and 20 minutes. Thank you very much. You guys are heroes. Yeah. Do you guys have any particular question while we are here that you would like to ask?
Excuse me, Gerson. Well, I have 3 questions.
Yeah.
The first one, have you heard any delay for if I submit my the recognition right now due to the coronavirus? And yeah, have you heard about some delay to have this recognition?
Yeah, I haven't heard yet. My personal opinion, I don't believe there will be any delays because now you apply, everything is digital. So when you go to your portal, you upload everything. My understanding is that, well, for example, when I was doing interviews with Engineers Australia, the national assessor was sending me a link, and then I could open that link, and then I could have access to all the career episodes and the CV and everything, even the assessor's comments in my computer. And I was then reading and making comments in that particular software, and I was sending back to the national assessor. So I believe that even with this pandemic crisis, national assessors are probably working from home, and they still, in terms of, because the issue about the assessment to delay, if it was paper based, if they had to go to the office to do the assessment and everything, but because they can actually do from home, I don't really see the reason why they would delay the process. So I haven't heard about this. I even opposite. I heard recently people that they applied for fast track, and they still got their assessment in 3 weeks. So yeah, I actually have one student of my mentoring group. He's an environmental engineer, and he's applied with fast track. He got some feedback that he needed to include some pictures and diagrams, etc. Pretty much normal. He got 30 days to resubmit with the pictures and diagrams and tables, etc. So yeah, I don't believe that there is actually delays.
Okay. My second question is regarding the CP Eng. Okay.
Yeah.
Yesterday I asked this one question: how long I need to wait, and you said that well, yeah. But how because my main target is to get this certification. I understand, and yeah, and I'd like to know how the process works. If you can just explain in few words. There is a panel with some guys that are gonna evaluate me, and how it works.
Well, there used to be a panel of what they call a professional interview, but that's probably 3 years ago, up until 3 years ago. Now the process has changed. Engineers Australia, they reviewed the whole process of CP Eng, and they've changed the process. There's still some peer review that you need to do, but this is done by your supervisor. So your supervisor is the one that's going to say, yeah, Vinny has had this experience, he's completed these things that he's saying that he's completed, and the supervisor will have to kind of state and sign that you've done those things, and those things they need to the CP Eng, you also need to address 16 competencies. They different competencies from the stage 1. CPH is usually known as a stage 2. The 16 competencies are slightly different because obviously it's a higher level. So it's a more higher level competency that you got to demonstrate. There is probably, when I spoke with Engineers Australia, there's no interviews, professional interviews now. There could be if the assessor is not entirely satisfied with what you provided. There is a little bit of writing that you gotta do, but it's not as the same volume that used to be. When I did my CPH, it was like the CDR process. I wrote a lot, and even though when I did mine, I had more than 15 years of graduation, there was like they call mature path. For those engineers that they had more than 15 years, you could write a little bit less. But engineers with 3, 4, 5 years, they had to write a lot to get their CPH. Nowadays, you still have to write a little bit, but you still gotta address 16 competencies. Get those 16 competencies verified by your supervisor, which is the peer review component now. And then the national assessor will make the final decision. So how long does it take for that to happen? Well, it will depend on how long you will take to do your self-assessment. There's a self-assessment stage that you gotta do. And then when you write your self-assessment, you address those competencies, you gotta send to your supervisor. And then it will depend on how long your supervisor will take to evaluate and give you back. And then it's going to be obviously how long the assessor will consider that your application is suitable for a CPH outcome. Yeah.
Okay, but the supervisor, I need to find one supervisor to supervise me, or Engineer Australia can indicate someone?
Well, they say that they prefer that is a supervisor that knows you, that knows that you did that job. Okay. So let's say that you're working for this company. So you're working for this solar panel company?
No. I work for Siemens.
Siemens?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you work for Siemens, and then let's say that you get your stage 1 done, you get your qualification recognized, and then you are supervised by an engineer, for example, and then you work 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or even 1 year, but then you use previous experience as part of your CPH. Your supervisor, current supervisor, will sign that you're competent in this particular period. You may have to find your former supervisor. Let's say that you work in Brazil, and then you want to claim some of that experience, and then you got to find somebody there to sign the document for you as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
That's all right. Yeah. Any other particular question there? No? It's all good?
Hi, Gerson.
Yes. Hi, Anna. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
So I have a question because yesterday you said that the 476 visa, that one from UFMG.
Yeah. Sorry, Anna. You sent a question in the chat. I didn't see that. So,
No worries.
Yeah. So you are on the 476. In this case, can I apply in the Washington Accord pathway? How does it work? I graduated in 2017. Yeah. I'm probably not the right person to ask this question. We could have asked this question to Carlo. But my understanding is that the 476, you can apply under Washington Accord for that visa, which is the temporary visa.
Yeah.
Which will give you what, 18 months of
Yes,
of work visa. Yeah. But I believe that the objective, I was reading a little bit about this visa in the Home Affairs Department website. I believe that the intention of this visa is to give you 1.5 years of working visa without recognized as an engineer under the Washington Accord, so you can find a job and then you can work for a company, and then you can demonstrate to that company that you're worthwhile for them to give you a permanent visa, a sponsor. And then you don't need to get your skills assessment. But if you are going to apply, my view is that if you're going to apply for a skilled migration, independent, I don't know the codes, but like mine, I applied skilled independent. That is asking for migration skills assessment. My view is that you need to do the CDR because it's for a permanent visa. My understanding is that under the Washington Accord, you can just apply for the 476 for the temporary visa. It doesn't really work for the permanent visa.
Yeah,
So,
but the thing is, I came to Australia with my girlfriend, and we are probably applying, like, she's going to be the main applicant.
yeah.
So I just need to validate my diploma to add more points.
To add those extra 5 points there.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I can't help you with that one there, Anna. I can refer your question to Carlo, and he can get in touch with you. Yeah, or send him an email. Yeah, with the email that he left. Send him an email saying that you were here in the webinar and you forgot to. Well, I forgot to ask. Well, you probably ask after we finish anyway.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, send him an email. Ask the question. He probably can reply you top of his head and straight away. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's all right. Any other particular question? No? Right.
Gerson?
Oh, yeah?
Excuse me. It's Daniel. I have a question.
Hi, Daniel. Yeah. Fire away.
Gerson, my question is about when apply for the Engineers Australia.
Yeah.
If we work as with a small business, I don't know how to say in English, as a third party.
Oh, yeah, you're like a contractor.
Yes, so I was reading the booklet, and it says that if you work as a small business, as a subcontract, our business should be registered as a engineer's authority. So is that right? I cannot have just a small business without, let's say in Brazil is the CREA.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So
well, because in Brazil, you can work as a self-employed, like an autonomous, where you don't need to have a company you don't need to have a company, an engineering company registered to the CREA to provide a service. You can provide a service as an engineer, like pessoa física. But here you're saying that here in Australia, you would like to work. You've got a company, and you provide services to somebody else. Is that the situation?
No, sorry.
No.
Say again.
So the situation is that do you want to claim the work experience that you're having here in Australia now, or in Brazil you used to have a company that you provide services?
Yeah, in Brazil.
All right. Okay. Well, what sort of services did you provide? So
well, it's easy if I say in Portuguese, but let's say I used to work in a German company.
Yeah.
Okay, for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you know that if you have a business in Brazil, you need to pay tax for the employees, and
Yes.
it's very high tax. Usually, if your employee, you pay, I don't know, let's say $100,000, then you need to pay extra $100,000 only for the government.
Yeah, INSS and
yes,
those,
INSS and everything. So the director of my company offered to almost everybody there in the engineer department, engineer and commercial.
So you open a company and then you
To
provide
open,
services.
yes, it's a, you need to open a small business, and you send to us an invoice and you get paid. But this small business is not really a engineer company, you know. So my doubt is when we apply for Engineers Australia, our business in Brazil should be registered as a engineer business.
Yeah, in terms of the validation, in terms of writing your career episodes, it doesn't really matter if the company was registered or not. The issue could be that if you're trying to get the RSEA, the Relevant Skilled Employment Assessment, I'm not familiar with that process because it's more like a migration, because you're trying to get points for your experience. It's more like a migration question rather than a validation question. In terms of validation, it's not an issue that you had a company that was not registered as an engineering company, as long as the service that you're providing were engineering services.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So again, because it's a migration, if you're planning to apply for the Relevant Skilled Employment Assessment with this company that you had, but the company was not registered as an engineering company, maybe send an email to Carlo and just ask him the question if that's going to be an issue there. Yeah. Or what I usually do, I send emails to Engineers Australia myself. Sometimes engineers, they ask me questions, and if it's a question that is recurrent, I myself, I send emails to Engineers Australia, and they're very, very good in responding. So I'll probably put here in the chat their email address. They're really good. They respond straight away. It's member services at engineersaustralia.org.au. So if you guys have any particular question, send an email to them. Some people, and that's why sometimes I'm upset with some people in the Facebook groups, especially when people start to kind of smash Engineers Australia, saying, "Oh yeah, Engineers Australia, they just want your money and this and that, etc." But they are professionals. They're just there doing their job, and when you send a question, they will reply, and they are very serious about that. So usually when something doesn't really go according to what you're expecting to go, it's because you didn't do something that you were supposed to do. If you do everything that you're supposed to do, you get always a positive assessment. Even with your career episodes, if you send an email, they will reply. One day I sent a question because a lot of people ask me, "Hi, Gerson, metallurgical engineer is a specialization of mechanical engineer." I said, I don't know, but I can find out. Even I say in my video, I think number 2, this example, I sent an email to Engineers Australia asking, is metallurgical engineer considered as a specialization of mechanical engineer? And they replied me straight away saying, "No, Gerson, metallurgical engineer is not a specialization of mechanical engineer. If it's not in the list, the applicant needs to apply under professional engineer not elsewhere classified. And there's a particular code. It's pretty much like outros. So because the list of professional engineers doesn't really have all engineers there, and the engineers that are not listed, they can apply under the not elsewhere classified, which is outros. So, and I sent, probably another 5 or 6 emails, and they always respond. So I encourage you guys, if you have a particular question, send them an email. Yeah, there's no harm in sending questions. It's better for you to send questions now rather than making some wrong assumptions and then submit a wrong application. And then you have to redo with the stress of it is within the application then. So they're very good. I think even I say in one of my videos that they're really good, and they are there to help. But some people, they don't help themselves. So yeah. All right. Any other particular question? No? All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. 2 hours and 40 minutes. You guys are amazing. Yeah. So thank you very much. And if you're available tomorrow, I'll see you tomorrow. We may have different people tomorrow, but if you're not there tomorrow, I understand because you already watched twice. But then from Saturday, I can promise you it will be a different session every day. And Saturday, 9 a.m. is the first video, 24 minutes. Those videos, they are 24 minutes, 25 minutes. It's quite long. And don't take offense of few things that I say in my first video. But this process is just if you are committed and if you are engaged. If you have something else going through your mind, if you're not prepared, don't waste your time now. Do it later. Because when you start, once you start, you then got to finish. And I'm pretty sure that, I can give you a lot of information during the workshop to help you guys. I had already 3 or 4 guys that they were not part of my mentoring program, but just with the information that I provide in my videos and YouTube and everything, they managed to put together their application. They submitted to Engineers Australia and they've been approved. And they sent me a message saying, "Oh, Gerson, yeah, thanks for your help. The content of your information helped me to be approved." So, all right, yeah, good. I'm happy. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow or Saturday. See you then.
See you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Joshua.
Bye bye.